Bigg Weezy. Bigg Weezy.
What's up, sir? How you doing?
I am doing very well. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, sir. It is good to see you. Good to be back.
It is good to see you and good to have you back.
Good to be ready to go.
Yes.
I am pleased, man. I'm telling you. So, life treating you well?
Life is treating me very well.
That is great.
Yes. I got my technology dialed in. Everything is starting to gel.
No, you got everything's looking good. What's up, everybody on well, there is nobody to say hi to yet on Instagram, but it is good to see you, my friend.
Yeah. Well, we are live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Boxcast. We're live
on every possible platform that you have going there, my friend.
Yeah.
And
I don't have
I love it.
I don't have my live Instagram going this time because I know you got yours.
Absolutely. First thing, you look fantastic. It's great to see you.
Well, thank you, my brother.
Happy to be here.
I have
and
been
all of that stuff.
I've been diligently connecting cables and firing up monitors and microphones and headphones, and I'm just trying to make sure everything works so that I can be turnkey with a lot of my stuff. Herb got me a remote control camera, bro.
Some shit to talk about.
It's a 180 360. So I don't.
Yeah, we're here. Podbrothernation.com. If you want to see what Stephen Kimbrough looks like, he's been cutting his own hair lately. I like that picture you have of me in the background. He's been cutting his own hair lately. That is something that, based on what Stephen does, it's highly recommended. It's not a bad look. It is I would call it circa 1968. Where your hairline wasn't important in those days.
Right.
Right. Where it didn't have to be lined directly across the front.
Right.
It was
called the natural hairline.
It was a natural hairline.
Yep. Because they didn't start doing the whole line until the 70s, where you got the really tight, perfectly lined hairline.
Right.
And I sported that for a while because, it was kind of the fashion. And then I dated a girl that said, your natural hairline is really cool. It's beautiful. You should, not too much.
So you dated someone who appreciated the natural hairline.
Yes. And it was interesting because, it was a sister because.
Of course a sister.
Yeah. It was like, oh, okay, this is cool. This is cool.
That's
So I let it grow out, and I dated her for about a year, and I just stuck with it ever since.
That was fantastic. Herb, welcome, my friend.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, Herb. Herb Morris is with us as he is every week. My God, Herb, did you get a haircut, Herb?
Herb got a haircut too, except for he didn't do it himself.
You look fantastic.
He looks dapper, doesn't he?
And I didn't really mean that as it came out, because normally when someone says you look fantastic, the inference is you look like shit the other times I've seen you. And that's not what I'm saying, Herb. I'm saying that you upgraded your fantastic look. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying that right now you could go to a wedding with that look, Herb. You could go out on a date with that look. Whereas your other look was more like I'm on my way home, but I still look fantastic. So I don't know if that clarifies it in any way, shape, or form, Herb, but that's...
I hadn't had a haircut since before Thanksgiving. It's like my regular barber was having health problems, and then and just about the point when I was just to hell with it and I was going to go get a haircut, the California pulled the plug on everything.
Right.
Yeah, but you know what, Weezy? I've seen Herb with his hair grown out, and he's got that kind of like Einstein, bushy, intellectual scientist look when he had,
Yes.
because
The one
I've
that he has now.
I've caught him like in the morning when he ain't done shit. He put his glasses on,
No,
his
no,
hair is
no,
like this, and
no.
I'm like,
I'm with you. He has that look now, except the hair is dark. I
yeah,
mean, that the other look never goes away.
it
There's
never goes.
just there's that look, but then I mean, even if it's like I don't know how I'm trying to put this so it doesn't sound crazy. What I'm saying is all right. I'm going to use me as an example. Right now, I'm just an old fat guy, but with that hat on, I'm an old fat guy with a hat on. So what I'm saying is he's still that guy, but just the hair's off the fucking chain. I mean, it's right there. You know what I'm saying? So Herb, congratulations to you on the look, sir.
Anyway,
and I hope that you find someone later on this evening to run her fingers through that for you, Herb, and bring it home. And if she's running her fingers through it, Herb, that means you're in the right position.
You're in the right position.
One of my favorite positions. Right, where you're laying on your stomach and looking up with your eyes, and and you're munching on something that's what I would consider munchy, But it's been a crazy week since we've been here last week, ladies and gentlemen and people out there. Something that happened on the 4th of July that's got a little legs on it, and that is the young kids working at Jimmy John's. Are you familiar with this, Stephen?
Jimmy John's is what?
Jimmy John's is a sub sandwich convenience restaurant. When I use the term convenience, that means you walk in, you order, it's prepared fairly quickly. You can sit down and self-serve yourself, which means you bring your food to your table, you grab your own condiments, you eat, and then you bust your table and you walk out. I call that convenience eating because it's the convenience for the shop owner, because he's still charging you full price while you're self-serving your ass. That's
Right.
why I don't. That's why I never use the self-checkout line, because they don't give you a discount on your groceries for self-checking out. I want full service. I don't give a fuck how long the line is. You're bagging my shit. You're giving me mediocre small talk. We're laughing, and then I never want to see you again until I return for my next visit. And for all of that, I'm going to pay full price. I don't want to go and shop and then walk up to a computer where I scan my own shit like you've been trained to do. Then I bag my own shit like you've been trained to do. Then I offer payment by myself like you've been trained to do. And I can't talk to myself. And what makes it so bad is now they're trying to limit the stuff you can steal by putting cameras there, thinking that's going to stop me. If I'm going to take a free bag of chips and stuff it in the bag and not pay, I'm going to do it instead of leaving it on the bottom shelf of the cart where I normally would just push it out. So shoplifting is still at the forefront of my deal.
It's a sport. It's not even a necessity for you. It's more of a sport.
Right. It's just a sport. So I'm at Jimmy John's. I mean, I'm not at Jimmy John's. I'm reading this article in which 3 or 4 young kids are working, and Jimmy John's apparently bakes their own bread, which is, a thing that we all love, because if you bake the bread there, the bread is fresh, it's not delivered. It enhances the experience of the sandwich eating. And I apologize to those who feel that I am making this sound like, it's an experience, but anyone who watches the podcast knows that when I have those segments in which I talk about food, eating is an experience for me.
Well, that's my favorite part of the show is you talking about a food experience.
About food, right?
Yeah,
and, we'll be talking drive-through wars later. But so what happens is these young kids, they make a noose out of the dough that they're out of the dough, and they're stupid enough to record it, of course, because that's what kids do. And they actually make the noose and put it around their neck and film this. Now, Jimmy John's corporate office gets a hold of this information, of course, because there are people that are going to inundate their office with this horrific type of behavior. They contact the franchisee, and he immediately lets everyone that was working at that time go. So he does what he's supposed to do, and I appreciate that. But what really bothered me was the fact that they're going to use that dough still probably to make bread with it, and we'd never know. Okay. So, all right. Not that the noose thing doesn't bother me. What bothers me is that are they going to still use that and make dough, make the loaf that they're serving a sandwich with? So now
only you would think of that, Weezy, because that was the last thing on my mind. Was that it's like forget the.
I mean, yeah, no. There was another thing I thought about it. The artistry of the noose that they made with the dough was exceptional. Okay, it was exceptional, which means that they've made a noose before. Right? This is something they learned at home. It was not a big deal for them to make the noose. The noose was not an issue for them to make it.
It didn't look like a one-off, is what you're saying.
This was no. They didn't have the YouTube channel on how to make the noose going at work. They knew exactly how to make that noose out of dough. And quite frankly, they could have used pizza dough and it would have just been as good. They were artists, all right? But then you're going to, and they put it around their neck. Now, I know that when you're preparing food, that, of course, whatever bacteria is probably on that dough is going to be killed by the hot oven at 325, 350, 375, whatever they bake it at. It's going to happen. But the image in my mind of noose dough is bothering me. So now I have to take the position that I can't eat at Jimmy John's for the next 10 years. It's going to take about 10 years. I'll be 70 by the time I feel comfortable enough to eat at Jimmy John's. Back in the 80s, we all know what happened. Jack in the Box was not preparing their food properly. They were not getting the center of the burger to 145 degrees. Consequently, there were some people that died and got sick from the, it's not salmonella. What's the other one? When E. coli. Thank you, Herb. Herb had that on the tip of his tongue, and so we all know that Jack in the Box was able to overcome that with their risk management program, the same way Tylenol did when they had their bottles spiked and people died. So,
you know what? I have a theory on that, by the way. The Tylenol. Yeah. Tell your story. Circle back around to me.
All right. So what happens is that's my problem with Jimmy John's. The noose thing, well, they were white. So that was not unexpected, because with the white privilege that we've all been able to use out in the open over the last few years, is that there's not an issue making this news. There's not going to be an issue with us playing with the news. There's not going to be an issue with us filming the news, because we've always been protected with these type of pranks. All right. And so therefore, since I understand that part, I'm not eating Jimmy John's bread for quite a while, for over 10 years. All right.
But there's also the the idea that hair follicles could probably be in that dough too, and there's nothing worse than pulling hair out of your mouth.
That part's true. But white people wash their hair every day, though, Stephen.
Yeah, but I don't care. White, black, it just doesn't matter. Just to know that you're pulling a thread of hair through some munched up salad, or it's the worst.
Well, you know what? I agree with you. Quite frankly, I've worked very hard to get over my hair phobia. Right? It's like using someone else's shower and then there's a hair right on the tile when you get in. That just bothers the shit out of you. Right? I mean, it really does. You don't want to touch it. You try and spray it. If they don't have one of those removable shower heads to spray it off the wall, it'll bother you the whole shower. I've learned that it's just someone else's shower hair on the wall. I can still shower. Did I used to close my eyes in the past? Absolutely. Do I do it now? No. I look at that hair on the tile, Stephen, I say, fuck you, hair tile. I'm going through with this. You're not going to stop me from washing my ass. In fact, I'm going to leave a couple of my own hairs next to your hairs to keep it company, because that's how I roll, Stephen. All right? There's certain things you got. Right now, Herb's looking so good with his haircut, Stephen, that if I got into his shower and there was a hair on the wall, I'd look at that hair and say, my God, I feel so good that you've been trimmed, you've been cut, and you look fantastic now. So yeah, a hair in your food can be bothersome. But if it's a white hair, you know that shit's being washed every day. All right. So, is it going to taste like Clairol? Yeah. Is it going to taste like Cover Up? Yeah. It's going to taste something. Yeah, probably. It may even enhance the meal. Let me tell you what I don't want. I don't want a brother's hair in my food because we only wash our hair once a week. All right. And if this goes back to the 80s, it could have had some of that curly gel stuff on there. So, I love the brothers, but I just don't want to eat anything with,
Jerry
free on.
Jerry curl. Curl free Jerry curl. I had one of those.
Yeah, we all have one. Mine was off and I used to wear a ponytail. My shit was banging. All right?
Well,
my shit was banging.
You had mentioned about the Tylenol and the mishap with that, but I have a theory on that. I was having a conversation with Isu Morales, and he's a very, very smart dude. He's got a lot of conspiracy theories kind of thing, but they don't sound like conspiracy theories because the logic and the intel and the facts behind them that backs up what he says.
That's always scary when a conspiracy makes sense.
Yes, it is. And this is one of those things. So he, and I think there might be some research that backs this up, but
of course.
But he was saying that it was a bad batch that Tylenol had made, and rather than take ownership of a bad batch, they spun it into bottles being contaminated, and thus launched the sealable bottles. Because people are.
I'm with you, but they caught someone though. Remember?
Yeah, they did, but
the guy, and what he'd been doing was they didn't have a tamper-proof seal in the bottles, and he was taking the capsules and filling them with cyanide. He had actually, in those days, you could get if you were in the right state, and you could buy rat poison that had cyanide in it, and so he was making cyanide capsules, and then he just put them back together and put them on the shelves, and so they did they did catch his ass because they actually caught him planting them.
But I thought from what I heard that was a copycat of the original Bad Batch. That was. And then he came through and was like, okay, did his cyanide thing. But initially,
go ahead, Herb.
Related.
What's that?
They're not. It's not a related contaminant. This thing now with Zantac, they had a thing where they took it off the market because it's contaminated with something, and the contaminant is something that comes up in the manufacturing that they didn't quite get it all out. So, conspiracy theory. The guy just sat there and thought that shit up.
Well, you know what? Go ahead, Herb. Go ahead. Finish, Herb.
So anyway, conspiracy theories are people sitting in their just sitting somewhere in the dark, possibly in their mother's basement when they're 35, and they just sit down there and they just ferment in their heads.
No, you're absolutely right. It's like that time I sat down with Abraham Lincoln, and we had a conversation. He texted me, Weezy, can you come over? I need to talk with you. Right.
Was that before or after the Getty Address? Was that did you help him write that? You helped him write that, didn't you?
No, it was before the Getty Address because I wrote the Getty Address. People don't know that. That's why with all this protesting in American history, some of this shit's going to come out, how I've affected history, writing the Getty Address, advising President Kennedy on the Bay of Pigs situation. I told him, let's don't do it. Our shit's raggedy. Me, of course, speaking with the head of the Gambino family before they assassinated John F. Kennedy. I did not give my okay on that, but I was outvoted. So I understand exactly what Herb is talking about. The hand that I played in American history personally is just really something. Like right now, I have not been invited to the White House, Stephen. Donald Trump has not reached out to me. He's refused my counsel, as other presidents have not. Secretly, I've been involved in all of the major decisions making throughout history. I personally abolished slavery.
Speaking of profound events in history that you are responsible for, why did you talk Kanye into running for president? Because he took you. He said, "Weezy, that's a good idea. I'm gonna go for it." Why did you do that? Why did you talk him into?
This is actually what happened. Kanye called me. I was eating dinner.
What'd you have? What'd you have?
I was, my normal go-to, Big Mac, extra cheese, large size, with a Diet Dr. Pepper. Kanye hit me up. I told him, listen, dude, I'm in the drive-thru. And he goes, don't you normally use the mobile app and pull into the slot? I said, I did use the mobile app, but I'm just going to have him scan my phone and pick my meal up and go. He goes, well, listen, I'm going to run for president. I said, fine, no problem. And I hung up. That's how that went down. He hasn't been taking my calls since, Stephen. I want to talk him out of it. Not that there's an issue with mental illness. As far as I'm concerned, I don't care about that. Everything's in the open now. But I believe that Kanye should focus on himself first. I see Kim as possibly second, maybe third in the top 5 of first ladies if he is elected. Because since Barbara Bush, we haven't had an ass like that in the White House. Don't get me wrong, Michelle is still number 1. But if you're going 2 through 10, everybody knows that not Barbara Bush, the second Bush's wife. What was her name? I can't remember. Herb?
Laura Bush.
Laura.
Everybody knows that when son Bush hooked on that motherfucker came up. There's just no I used to look and say she was a school teacher. That bitch wasn't teaching school when I was in school. So all I can say is that Laura was on the chain, was off the chain. I mean, the first Bush, Barbara was cool. I mean, not often do you marry someone whose face could be on a dollar bill. And that was, very interesting right there. And we'll just leave that alone. But I'm just saying that right now, for me,
I saw her face on the Quaker Oats box, and I thought I was missing persons until I looked at it close. And I was wait a minute, that's not missing persons, Barbara Bush missing person. That's the actual Quaker Oats dude. So
but you know what, Stephen? Again, for those who sat around in their mother's basement, that was Barbara Bush. Now, that was Barbara Bush. What we did was we decided not to. When Quaker called me about this, all right. When Quaker called me, I think it was 1872, maybe something. It was something around there. When Quaker called me and they were talking about, because remember, I invented branding. Branding was a term that no one started using till about 30 years ago. I invented branding, but I never used to want that term out there because people do what they do now. Everyone's got a brand. Even your 3-month-old kids branded now. Everyone's got a brand. When Quaker called me, I told him, I said, listen, there's this gal, her husband's going to be president one day. She can double for the Quaker Oats guy. She's cool. Let's use Barbara Bush. Now, at that time, Barbara Bush, as you know, when you look at her pictures from her 20s and 30s, Barbara Bush was a fine-looking young lady. So what we did was we used something that my father invented, which was called enhanced future-looking facial recognition. My father invented this back in 1932. We didn't sell it to the federal government until 1950. But before we sold it to them, we were able to use this progression in age technology to project what barber was going to look like, and therefore had the best artist in the world. I wanted to use Van Gogh, but he had died already. So we used the best artist in the world and created Barbara Bush's image, and then Quaker was happy. I gave my stamp of approval, and boom, the Quaker Oats image was created at that point.
Why didn't Van Gogh take your advice and break up with that bitch instead of cutting off his own ear? Sometimes you need to listen to a brother.
Well, first thing, the problem with Van Gogh is he didn't want to use the cell phone. See, people don't know cell phones have been around since 1532. We just didn't let everybody use it. That's what we do. See, when we invent this fantastic technology, we keep it a secret. It's only for us people that are in the top 0.5% in wealth in America. And then once we perfect it and get it to where we want, we start passing it down. Just like when I invented the flat screen TV. I invented the flat screen TV before I even let people know there was television, Stephen. So what happened was, right? But what did we charge? We were like 15, 20 grand when it first came out, right? We wanted to keep it out of the hands of regular white people. That's what we did. We only wanted rich black people to have it, the top 0.5% that no one knows about. We wanted only them to have access to that. And now you can get a 43-inch for $199. I just approved that today, so you can buy it on Amazon and you can still get the free shipping. I just talked to the CEO and told him, listen, offer the 43-inch at $199.99, all right, with free shipping. And he says, Bigg Weezy, it's not an issue. It's done.
Nice.
You didn't have to contact the board.
Nice. Yeah. So we know Kanye is like, he's got like some mental, things going on, but what's your take on the people that actually would vote for Kanye? Like,
well, first thing, I don't even know if Kanye really has mental things going on. I have to check with my media department, because sometimes we put shit out there about people that's not true in order to shape the media's view and the public opinion of people, so that if they do act a certain way, people won't take them seriously. I'm sorry I gave my stamp of approval on that the time that he walked into TMZ, because I don't have anything really to do with TMZ. It's one of the rare places I don't have my footprint at, Stephen. Harvey is an independent, maverick type of guy. You know what I'm saying? And he just doesn't deal with me. It goes back to the time that he made a pass at me when I didn't know he was gay after the 94 earthquake, when he was working for NBC as a reporter, and I was in line trying to get free government cheese. We had a run-in at that time. He tried to interview me, and Harvey already knows I don't do interviews. I was incognito that day. People don't know my far reach, and Harvey and I have not gotten along since. And so when he came up with TMZ, the 30-mile zone, which is what TMZ stands for, which is another thing I didn't agree with, so that's why they went with the acronym. I just was like, so I don't know. But when Kanye went there, we had to spin that, right? So I contacted risk management. I said, listen, you got to spin the Kanye deal. And they did. But he really doesn't have mental illness. He's fine. He would make a so-so president, though. You know what I'm saying? That I can tell you. He'd make a so-so president, because he's too emotional. He's like Donald. He's too emotional.
Well, the bar is set so low, I think anybody would be a so-so president. Well,
it's possible. Look, the only reason I don't run for president, because I'm not losing 300 pounds to please the American public for no one. You know what I'm saying? I like driving myself. I don't want to have every minute of my day accounted for, speaking to these government leaders. I already have access to the government leaders. Why do I want to make it public, right? People say, well, look, what about your podcast every Tuesday at 8 o'clock? This is just a toy for me, Stephen, to let the American people know that I'm available to them, that they can reach out and touch me, right? Because other than that, I'm living a bubble. I'm inaccessible. Stephen, you've tried to reach me during the week. You sent me text messages. I don't even answer them. I have someone else that answers them, someone who's close to me, who knows exactly how I'm thinking. Like they hit me up a little while ago, say, listen, Steven just sent you the Zoom connect. Do I answer it? I said, absolutely not. We'll just connect at the normal time like we normally do.
See, that's why I don't have any anxiety, because I know at Tuesday I'm in. So I don't even have to trip on,
No.
Sunday, Monday, Thursdays, Fridays, because it's like, come Tuesdays is like my Sunday. That's my comedy Sunday. That's my comedy church, so, Pastor Weezy can throw down some comedic knowledge and, kind of reboot, refill my comedy spiritual vat, and I'm good to go for another 7 days.
And as usual, I'm happy to accommodate because, that's just something I do. And we started this whole thing based on Jimmy John's news, you know what I'm saying? And with those young kids there, that is my biggest regret, Stephen. When I think about of all the things through history that I've had my handprint on, my family, of course, my father, my brother, is that I created white privilege. That's just my, what happened is that I wanted, look, when you're a secondary citizen in our country, all right, Stephen, all right, when, because we came over here and we worked for free and built the country for free, all right? Our whole deal was making white people feel better about themselves. That's the whole, and then it got out of hand. I lost control of it. Once I invented white privilege, it just got out of hand, Stephen. I'm trying to get it back.
I really liked how you duped him into coming here and snatching up, all these Africans to do slave labor to make it look like their idea. I mean, that was pretty clever. Because if they hadn't done that, man, we wouldn't have Michael Jordan, we wouldn't have, Muhammad Ali, we wouldn't have like all these amazing, incredible African Americans from slave descent through, the building of America for free. We wouldn't have all these brilliant, amazing black people in this country. How did you do that? How did you make it think it was their idea to come and steal Africans and do a 400 years of slave trade? That was pretty clever. I gotta hand it to you, Weezy. I mean, you're convincible. You're a convincing brother. But how did you convince them to make them think it was their idea? Because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be sitting here doing my podcast right now. It's amazing.
We could possibly still be running around in the mother country with a leaf between our legs. That's true. And, it wasn't hard. What happened was I created this little conflict over there, back there in the United Kingdom, right? And what I did was I got a group of white folks together and said, listen, hey, there's this country over there with these Native American people. They're fantastic people. They live off the land and all of that. Why don't we go there, see if we can make some peace with them, see if they'll let us come over. But then there was this renegade people. They came over here, they started raping and pillaging and shit, going on a hand. That's when I lost complete control right there. There was a time, Stephen, I'm going to say probably from about 1700 on, where I lost complete control of the globe. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I lost complete control. I mean, I'll never forget the time when I texted God. I was like, this dude, I'm going to need some help here. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to need some help. And God says, hey, Weezy, you're on your own on this. When I tried to talk to you, all right, the day I called you and said, I'm going to create the world in 7 days, I'm going to need you back in 1500. I'm going to create you in 1500. All right. Then I talked you into having Jesus, because I talked God into having Jesus. All right. So I said, okay, well, we need somebody. We need a Messiah. We need a Messiah that, for people to believe in and all that. So I went through all that stuff. So God was a little pissed off at me. So he let me kind of dangle out there for a little bit, that. But, that's when I lost control. That's what happened, Stephen. I lost control. And, so that's my biggest regret, as I started to say, it was inventing white privilege. That was my biggest, thing, trying to make them feel good about themselves, because of all the work you know what I'm saying.
It worked. It worked, Weezy, because they feel real good about themselves, right? I mean, it worked.
Right, because I'll never forget when I said, you know what, you guys stay in. I told the white people, you stay in the big house. We'll sleep out in the fields. You know what I'm saying? I said, well, we'll sleep under the stars. You stay there. We'll work 7 days. You don't even have to. You guys keep the money because you need the money, right? But the shit got out of hand, Steven. So now we're taking control back again. I'm out here trying to make sure that we take control again. You know what I'm saying? Because some of these people, some of these ancestors have passed down some bad type of thinking, right? That's why 3 weeks ago I said, fuck it. I sent a memo out. Get rid of the statue. Fuck it. Get rid of the statue. All right? And Donald's fighting me on this shit. All right? He's race baiting. And it's not going to work. I just told Donald, I said, fuck it, we're getting rid of some of these statues, right? Some of these people I put in prominent situations by giving them an opportunity for us to work for free and everything and all that. So, yeah, I'm not happy. I'm not.
Well, they got drunk on the Kool-Aid. That you set it up as it to kind of be, kind of like this is a joke, role play, not to take it too serious, and they took it serious.
They took it too seriously. Because I'm telling you, right? I mean, we're only really in the United States, we're about anywhere from 12 to 14% of the population, but yet, my God, we control all of the thinking. You know what I'm saying? I mean, when you got people walking around afraid of us, afraid of what we're going to do, afraid of what we're going to say, you know what I'm saying? You're going to get fired if you call us names. I mean, we're taking, the power is coming back, but I just invented the invention of white privilege, and that's what happened at Jimmy John's. That's what happened. They went too far.
They went too far.
And I had to call the corporate office, and they apologized and said, Weezy, we're sorry that this happened. We're not going to tolerate it, and we hope that you forgive us. And I said, yes, thank you very much. And so that's what happened. And I hope that the American people, now that they understand the type of reach that I have in the country and what my family and what we have done throughout the course of history to shape the type of problems that we have now. I apologize for that, and we're going to, do better. Because right now, I told Donald, he doesn't take my calls, but I sent him a memo, and hopefully he read. I said, listen, you're in trouble. All right. We don't, there are people that love you, but we're not going to let you get reelected. I'm sorry. And he's just pissed off. So, he's upset. I said, we're not going to let you get reelected. We're trying to come together as a country, Donald. And, when I gave your old man that money and let him become rich, I didn't think it was going to turn out that way. That's why I canceled The Apprentice. All right. That's why I canceled The Apprentice, because when The Apprentice wasn't going good, Donald called me. He goes, Weezy, what am I going to do? I said, just put celebrities on that motherfucker. That's all. He goes, well, who can I get? I said, get the C and the B list celebrities, just make them seem like, I said, I'd come on the show, but people, I got to stay in the background, Donald. So, he's in trouble right now. His polling is down, but not his internal polling, but according to him, but his polling is down and things aren't going well. So Biden says, listen, are you going to let me win? I said, don't fuck up like Hillary did. I told Hillary, cook me dinner. Bitch didn't cook me dinner. I gave it to Donald. That's as simple as that. People have no idea why Donald Trump won. Hillary didn't want to cook me dinner. That's as simple as that.
So, inserting the Electoral College was cool, but don't you think it's time you should snatch that back?
Well, I thought about it, but what I did was I called the Chief Justice a few days ago, and I told, listen, when you guys make this new ruling, I wanted to be that the people at the Electoral College are not free agents. They got to vote with the way the popular vote in their state goes. Now, we've kind of lost control of that, all right? So I'm thinking about replacing them. I really am. I might have some of my, look, I called Pookie and told Pookie, you want to be in the Electoral College, let me know if you want to do it. Pookie don't want to do it. He's not much going to interfere with his time, right? Because, Pookie is, he controls the weed division of my West Coast operation. And, and I understand that because he has to keep the black market going. Listen, when I decided to legalize marijuana a few years ago, all right, strategically across the country, working with just liberal states only, before I could get to the conservative states. When I decided to legalize marijuana, it's all in the pretext to legalizing meth, heroin, and crack cocaine. All right.
Yeah, but Pookie's tight, with the business, but he loses his mind as soon as somebody starts twerking, man. Twerking is his crack. That's his heroin.
and that's an issue for me, because what happened is when my mom invented twerking back in back in '89, we didn't even call it twerking then. It was just called dropping it low then. All right, we just called it dropping it low. And my mom, before I came on, I told my mom I gotta go do the podcast, and my mom is up there in years now, and I didn't tell her I was going to talk about this, but I'm going to let her know that we mentioned that we talked about her, the queen of twerking, that the woman that invented dropping it low, and it was meant, it wasn't meant that Pookie would just lose all sense of decision making when he saw the twerking. You know what I'm saying? But he has, and you're right. This is why I can't let him run the whole operation, just the West Coast operation.
I'm not hating. I'm not hating Pookie. I mean, I have lost some segments of my mind. Not totally at the Pookie level, but I'm not hating him. I have seen the drop low twerkage completely, totally opened up my nose, and
right. And you know what's so crazy is that we have some people in the religion. You know what I'm saying? People in the religion, they look down on twerking. What I'm saying? And I'm like, hey, motherfucker, my mom invented that shit. You know what I'm saying? My mom invented. It wasn't easy. I remember as a young man waking up and her in the kitchen working on the mood, trying to just get it the right way, right? I mean, because this is something that was going to that's taken the country by storm, right? You got pole dancers that are at the top of the pole twerking and making it slap and making it clap and coming down upside down. My mom is the pioneer of that bullshit. You know what I'm saying? All right. You got women making money. All right. Dollar bills up the yin yang. Okay. When my brother came up with Making It Rain back in 1972, that shit was unbelievable, because we used to shoot it through one of those T-shirt machines that they use at the stadiums when they're shooting T-shirts into the stands, those T-shirt guns.
Right.
That's the way we used to make it rain back in the day. But I'll never forget when my brother was just like, he was just doing this one day, Steven, just this shit, and the money fell out of his hand, right? And then somebody says, did you just make it rain? And boom, that's where it was. My brother made it rain. And therefore, what happened is profits for dancers went up 30% because you didn't have to buy the T-shirt gun to shoot your money at them. You could just do it right there. And it's amazing. I single-handedly made what the dance and gentleman club industry is today. That was a pet project of mine in the 8th grade, Stephen. That was a pet project of mine. I tried it way back in 1850 in the saloons, but it just didn't work, because you couldn't slide down a wooden pole at that time, because we hadn't gotten quite the putting metal together the way we didn't quite get that right, So I had to get people down in Pennsylvania to work hard.
So at your 8th grade science fair, did you have students be your stripper pole models, or did you have teachers?
No, I couldn't do it at that time because we were still creating certain laws and law enforcement, and we thought using underage girls would create a problem. So what I did in my 8th grade class, I used people that were 21 and over already. And that's how I came up with the age 21 and over. All right. That's how I came. That's why when you go to a bar, it says 21 and over. I came up with that age threshold, Stephen, in the 8th grade. That meant that I wasn't even allowed at 13 to go see what I invented, Stephen. That's how seriously I took it.
Okay. So why is it in some states you can have total nudity but no alcohol, and in the other states you can have alcohol and partial nudity? And like, I've been to a strip club in just about every state, and the laws are always different. Some of them you got to be 6 feet away. Some of them you got to buy a membership. Some of them you can bring your own alcohol in, and like how's I mean, I mean, let's get real. You have
How
a
did I
few
let
drinks.
that shit happen, Steve?
You have a
How
few
did I let that
drinks.
shit
You want
happen?
a naked body on your lap. I mean, come on, 1, 2, 3. It's supposed to lead to just clapping, getting them cheeks clapping after you have a couple drinks. Man, there's all these different rules and regulations.
I'm going to tell you where I made my mistake at, Steve. Jefferson comes to me one day, hits me up, talking about he wants to write this declaration and shit. You know what I'm talking about? Right? He says it's going to constitute everything, Stephen. He said it's going to constitute everything, right? And I'm saying, all men have to be created equal, motherfucker. He says absolutely. He says absolutely. All right? But then he talks me into this shit about, but listen, the colonies, the 13, there was originally 11. We added 2. So it came out to be 13. And we wanted to give them some decision making. So we wrote that in. And the problem is now we got 50 motherfuckers acting independently with their own legislatures and shit. When I should have just kept that shit I put together in Russia. All right? I should have just kept that, because in Russia, Russia, this is what happened. I didn't let Russia, all right, and some of these other countries, I didn't let them have a constitution like that where there was people to make. So we used the United States, which is, of course, that's not the name I voted for. We let them come up with the this thing about letting these independent states have their own legislation and their own governors, which will be they're like mini presidents. And they can decide certain things, and then I wouldn't let that go. That's how that came about. So, because of the independent thinking, excuse me, coupled with the white privilege, Stephen, and those young motherfuckers at Jimmy John's making the news with the bread, this is a type of anarchy that's come across in our country. All right? So therefore, you go to some places, you got to be 6 feet away. All right? Now, when I hear the 6 feet away, they strictly stole that from the pandemic playbook. All right? They stole that from the pandemic playbook, Stephen, because as you know, we haven't had too many pandemics, Spanish and all that kind of stuff. And we didn't even call it 6 feet away back in the day. We called it 6 people away, but same thing. And, we didn't have little stickers on the floor on the markets and stuff like that because everything was dirt then, Stephen. So, we didn't have face coverings like we had now, That's all new. When we invented the surgical mask back in I think it was 1901, maybe. I can't remember, right before we locked up Typhoid Mary back in New York for spreading that bullshit around to important people. The bottom line is that's what happened, Stephen. All right. So normally I take full responsibility. I'm the type of guy that takes full responsibility, but that was all Jefferson.
Damn Jefferson.
That's why we're tearing that motherfucker's statue down too. You ain't gonna see no Jefferson statues, right?
Jefferson statues is going too.
Jefferson statues going too. I'm tired of that motherfucker. To be honest with you, I'm tired of seeing him in perpetuity. I'm living forever, Steve. So I got control of this.
Okay, so I got a couple questions for you about the reparation.
Wait a minute. Before you get to the reparation, hold on 1 second, Stevie. Before you get to the reparation, I got to check something out. All right, go ahead.
Okay. Do you think the brain trust of people that should be assembled to decide how the reparation works, should that be a strict pool of black people only, since it will benefit black people? Should it be a pool of white people only, or should it be a combination of both white and black people, so that we could come up with some components, some elements in a systematic reparation system that will flip the disparity that we are in right now in a very short order. What's your take on that?
Quite frankly, there's only 3 people. There'd be a 3-person panel. They'd be all black. It'd be D.L. Hughley. All right. It'd be Colin Powell. It'd be Condoleezza Rice. Those are my 3 choices that would decide the reparations. People say, wait a minute, Connie, we don't really listen. If Connie can be on the board, which I had nothing to do with, of deciding the teams for the NCAA championship, she could definitely be in the reparations conversation. All right. We all know that Colin Powell is just one trusted bad motherfucker. And D.L. Hughley has his ear to the ground. This man is a research machine. The history, the books he's written, he's a bestseller author on the New York Times. And I had nothing to do with that because, normally I decide the bestseller. They don't even, it's not a vote. People always say, how do they make this? I make that decision what's going to be the bestseller book. I call Oprah and I tell Oprah what book is going to be in the book club. All right. That's the way it works.
Don't you think that committee should be more of a Mount Rushmore kind of theme? Don't you think it should be one more person, like 4, so we can have a Mount Rushmore versus just 3? Don't we have room for one more person? Because that needs to be a reparation Mount Rushmore kind of scenario.
I agree with you. I'm going to take that into under consultation. Whoever you suggest, I will heavily consider, of course, because there are some people that, deserve to be on that committee. But to answer your question point blankly, yes, I think the committee should be all black. It should be people that have influenced the history of our country through both sides since this 2-party system that my uncle invented seems to still take place. I always wanted a 4-party system, but my uncle wanted the 2-party system. He was my dad's brother. What the fuck? He was instrumental in inventing cowboy hats, and that went over big. So,
well, I think that 4th person, Weezy, should be Obama, and let me tell you why.
Because you don't even, that right there, when you said Obama, I don't even need a reason. All right? Once you said, I don't even, because everybody already knows why Obama was a badass president. All right? Because Michelle ran the country. Because we all know, we've all had sisters, and sisters run the household. He went he got off at the end of the day, and Michelle told him what the fuck was happening the next day. So, yeah, Obama's on the committee automatically.
Yeah. Well, when I went to the Cannes Film Festival, I went probably 3 or 4 times during his 8-year, and every single time I was in Europe, the approval of Obama in the White House through the osmosis of me was amazing. Yes. And the reason why I'm optimistic about the pop back, the spring back of black economics in America is if Obama was one of the committee reparation Mount Rushmore members, his international influence in getting other countries to participate in black economics, I think would blow what China's doing, what pick any economic windfall anywhere on the planet. I think with Obama being the spokesperson for doing export and import with African American businesses, that alone, I think, will put so much money in our community's pocket to where it's almost like slavery never even existed. Like slavery and racism would almost disappear in about a year because black people would be so wealthy. And just from export.
Of course.
Whatever money we made in America will be gravy, Weezy, will be gravy.
Absolutely. You know what? Your point's very well taken. I agree 100%. And, it's just like that video that was posted earlier today. I posted it on Instagram about the first major 15,000 to 17,000 suburb community back on the East Coast, in which the clause was no African Americans could purchase or have it resold to them, and that's how wealth building through real estate kind of is done and passed down and bequeathed to our families and our children. So yeah, I would agree with that. I believe that reparations type of thing would go over big. Your strategy and what you just mentioned would be unparalleled. And
I also want to see a national black bank, a black owned national bank where you can go any city in America and there's a branch, an African American bank branch in that city. And I totally want to see that. And there should be a lot of government incentive to do business with those banks. You get tax breaks if you invest in them. You get tax breaks if you, if you provide money and funds so that they can do business loans and scholarships and home building, commercial loans.
Using the same blueprint I gave to our white friends.
Yeah.
The same exact blueprint when I invented white privilege.
And if those loans are defaulted on, then the government comes in and does the too big to fail assistance for the black bank.
Yeah, absolutely. And that right there would be a way that I believe that will right some of the wrongs that I made in my decision making in the past. All right.
Well, I got your back, Weezy. I got your back on that one.
Yeah, because sometimes I'm a little embarrassed by some of the white people I've created. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I'm a little embarrassed with some of the white folks I've created out there by giving them this idea that they were superior to us just to make them feel better.
I'm embarrassed about some of the black folks I created. My grandfather, he did something I never forgot. Whenever I did something that was really stupid and he called me a dumbass, he'd be like, you know what? If Lincoln freed the slaves 2 a year, they would just now be getting to your dumbass.
Well, let me tell you, Stephen, I apologize for that. Because when that happened, he called me and he says, listen, what's going on? I said, just call him a dumbass. And that's my fault, Stephen. I told you my reach was incredible.
Well,
sorry.
It was effective because it did tool my my behavior. It did allow me to develop some logic and some intellect and some critical thinking. So all of those, those words of dumbass sunk in to make me not want to be a dumbass. So I appreciate that, Weezy, because it actually did work in my case. It don't work for everybody's case. Some dumbasses just are stuck in dumbass and they never evolve out of dumbass. And I get it.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about eliminating that phrase, Stephen. I'm thinking about eliminating it. Back in the day, when I met Marion, you know what I'm saying? I think this was before I invented the coffee house. It was just a coffee shop back in the day. And before, and I think I ran into this extraordinary woman. Her name was Marion. And we were talking about words. You know what I'm saying? And Marion said, wouldn't it be nice, Bigg Weezy, if we just had a book with all the words in it, with definitions? And I said, what do you mean by definitions? She said the words would be explained, their meanings would be explained. I said, well, who would decide that? And she said, you would. You would decide that, Mr. Weezy. And so for like 25, 30 years, I spent 2 hours a day defining each and every word in Marion's book. Of course, we all know it as the dictionary now. And
well, we got 60 seconds left before this is over. Time flies so fast, Weezy. I can't even believe it. What's your closing thought for tonight?
My closing thought is this: to the people that have tuned in on Instagram and on podbrothernation.com, you found out some things tonight that you didn't know about me. That I've been living forever, quite frankly, since the 1500s. That I've had my hand in most of the major decision-making and policy-making decisions here in the United States and, in fact, globally. And I apologize for some of the things I've had my hand in, I have created. And as you know, we've discussed tonight white privilege, my mistake with that. But I want you to know that I need you to keep